transgender issues, proof,
on all things transgender, issues, extremisms, and more. This is going to be a lot, and it will all be extremely important for the betterment of humanity, as well as every single human being on this planet. Try to let go of everything that you think you know about this topic, and take a journey with me. Now transgender individuals are highly misunderstood, and I'm doing this piece specifically because I care so deeply about people, their suffering, this earth, and because I love everything and everyone pretty much. I have tons of grief, anguish, and pain in my heart for all of the injustice, evil, suffering, and wrong in this world. Our children deserve better. We need to curb these extremisms and outbreaks of violence, and there is so much suffering in terms of being transgender, or trans for short. We need real change, real focus on what really matters and helps real learning, understanding, and compassion for what's occurring, so that we lessen all of this suffering, mental illness, extremisms, and misconceptions/fear-mongering about being transgender. Fact: not all transgender people are mentally ill. Merely being transgender is not mental illness. Same with gender dysphoria, or GD, but often the individuals affected with such can very easily become mentally unwell or have varying mental health issues when untreated, outcased, and left to battle it all along. It is a fight. Being transgender and having gender dysphoria are two entirely different things, and be confusing to many. One can be transgender and not experience or grow out of gender dysphoria. Similarly, one can be gender dysphoric and not transgender. For an example, a child feeling like or having a phase. Being truly transgender is not just feeling like, nor pretending, nor faking, nor just dressing up. Cross-dressing is an entirely different thing. They are not trans. Same for drag queens. They are often not trans. There are factually many fakes, creeps, posers, extremists, mentally ill. Not every person that claims they are transgender is truly transgender. Being truly transgender is not just a phase. If it is just a phase, then that said person isn't truly transgender. Being truly transgender, like being truly gay, is from birth and not a choice, and while controversial, there are the latest data and studies that I will post to back up such evidence. Such evidence is hardly even needed. Many know from a very young age, even and clearly do not choose to be forced into such lives of suffering and a battle, because that's what being truly transgender is, a battle. Many born before the early 2000s knew, well before most trans people were even know, they were called transvestites, which is a now outdated and offensive term, before any indoctrination. It's definitely a fad for some, just a phase. I am a big-time Trump supporter, always have been. I am also a baptized Christian, and I consider myself with as right with God as one could be. I mean, I am not perfect, but I do not stand for any of the extremisms, wicked evils, or nonsense. This can all be very, very touchy, and people can and will of course be quick to label, judge, and turn away from. A trans woman is someone who's biologically male at birth, but identifies female. A trans man is just the opposite, a biological female who identifies as a male. Many of them already know what they are. They know you can't just be something you're not. Perhaps cosplaying and all of the dress-up one could call pretending, but that's something that's mirrored from a bigger picture, a real issue at hand. Many merely dress up or do certain similar things because it may help them feel more themselves. It can help their mental health, confidence, and help them find true happiness. There's a great and valid reason the majority of our populace has spit back at them and are taking many actions in many ways, with other countries even going as far as to try to firmly label merely being transgender as mental illness, if not extremism. I think that is wrong, and it will only cause more hurt than good. Being truly transgender, at this point, is nearly a proven birth defection spawning from genetics, birthing factors, and more. There is no denying these people exist, and they have very real problems behind it. It very much needs better understood, further examined and studied, taught about way more so as to avoid stigmas and suffering, stigmas of which can often lead to mental illness and sufferings. At least the latest studies, exams, and evidences show that is in fact not always a choice and ingrained, as some would say. Many transgender individuals are afraid that they are now going to be stripped of certain rights, perhaps their guns, or even thrown in loony bins. Unrealistic, but hey, I understand. I want to try to keep politics out of this piece and focus more on rights and on things like alleviating suffering, lessening confused and outcasted populaces. Transgender people do exist. What's fake and wrong is all of the faking, creeps, extremisms, unfair nonsense, and wicked horrors that have spawned from the LGBTQ+ movement. Way too far, to the point where of course we have now all witnessed the extreme amounts of unmasked public backlash and outcry against the transgender community. How, as a trans woman, could you ever come to step on and utterly demolish many of the major accomplishments girls and women have and are proud of?
Men and women's sports is factually an extreme unfair travesty that should have never even been a thing to begin with. Same for boys and men and girls in women's only bathrooms and safe spaces. Those are places for little girls for a reason to have safety and security, and a man coming in ruins all of that, trans or not. Biological males factually do not belong in women's only bathrooms, sports, and safe spaces, and vice versa, period. That's undebatable. Real trans women would respect women and listen to them when they cry out for help that they are at risk and do not deserve the risk because of how you feel. Myself even would physically stop a man, trans woman or not, from entering a woman's bathroom. Try me. I don't care if I had to get seriously physical. It's unacceptable behavior and absolute intrusion. Creeps, fakes, extremist nonsense, pandering ideologies onto our children, stuff like adults forcing LGBTQ plus beliefs onto their kids, child mutilation, trans ideologies being taught to literal kindergartners, drag queen story hours for children, pride parades with bondage gear, and private bits out in front of children, changing government IDs in disregard of reality, and so much more. All of what I say, if not proven in these words here, will be proven in sources and studies provided, linked. Living life as a transgender person is and can be extremely difficult at times, especially growing up and in their youth. Now, when I say that there are indeed trans children, there are also indeed confused, indoctrinated, and dysphoric children as well. That's happened a lot. Indoctrination, transing of children, for example, a parent with 3 kids, all transgender. Some can merely see it as a phase/fad. Same with being gay. Being truly gay, like truly, naturally gay, is not a choice, and yes, it is natural and not a choice for many. I'm still doing an entire piece on merely being gay as well. There is a lot of mental illness with a life of depression and trying to figure out what's what, especially as a child. Anxiety, sadness, grief, stress, and loss of meaning, as well as mental ailments can spawn easily. There's so much depth and complexity to all of this, and it can be hard for people to understand and therefore be quick to judge and shun. I want to try to explain everything, the ins and outs, as easily as I can for you to understand. Again, the biggest thing here is that there is factually a ton of suffering, and even now, there has obviously been an uptick in violence due to mere existence being denied. A large cause of murder throughout human history has factually been due to mere existence being denied. So we have to try to alleviate and understand better and to put focus and matter on what's right and what actually helps these people and not make them worse and more targeted than they already are, if not become a targeter themselves. Real trans people are going to keep existing and suffering whether you think one way or another or not. And a lot of the suffering comes from lack of understanding. There's so much depth to truly being transgender, from feelings, thoughts, learning processes, and interests to instincts, desires, understanding, and more. I've met trans folk who so authentic and kind that did not stand for the extremisms I've listed, that behave so similar to their identified gender that you would never even know were the opposite gender. The trans folk I've met clearly wanted to stay out of spotlights, not hop on TV with fake breast implants and a wig freaking out about being misgendered. Freaking out about misgendering is another example of extremism. Why is it bad for someone to tell you what you literally factually are? Stop forcing narratives. Some people cannot lie and do not accept what they consider not to be reality. You cannot force it down people's throats. In places like California, parents were literally being stripped of their children and punished for not adhering to and calling their child by their preferred gender identity. That's absurd. Save PDA or public displays of affection as well for the bedroom or in private. Many trans people never transition, mutilate themselves, or go into public appearing as something that they are physically not. Again, if many find happiness in doing things like that and mutilating themselves, I'm happy for them. It is my firm take that the stuff like operations and actually transitioning should not be highlighted as good and supported so strongly. Find happiness in you and your body the way that God made you. Sure, trans depression's always going to be there at some moments. That's probably not going to change, but tons of trans people who live such lives happily prove that you can live happily as you too, without surgical alterations, having full self-clarity and realization inside and out. Knowing who they are to the fullest extent may not even occur till age 21 to 25. Stop pushing for surgeries and push for living normal, with surgery as a shunned option even for adults. It is factually dangerous, risky, and unnecessary, extremely so. Push for living normal and finding happiness in the way that God has made you. Confusion often occurs during youth. Dysphoria can subside. Many are confused when little as to why they are so different. Grow your hair out a little. Wear bracelets and colorful socks, or whatever. Do the little things that make you feel a little more you. Many are mocked, outcasted, shunned, and attacked for merely being transgender. You would actually be surprised how many people are also actually really into transgender gals. They are a popular topic on many sites, particular. Many know they are different very young, feeling like the opposite gender and feeling more of the same thought processes, desires, interests, and more as the opposite gender than their own birth gender. Many kids experiencing such can feel ashamed of their own body, just want to feel/be normal like the others, do life the same but can't find that normalcy. Many process, think, learn, understand, feel, and enjoy differently. They perceive more like their identified gender than their own birth gender, and it even comes down to instincts, such as shaving and feeling wrong about certain things, and certain desires, goals, stuff like crying over birth and not being able to give birth, wanting to feel motherly, wanting to click with the other gender, having traits of the opposite gender, such as more feminine, affectionate, caring, understanding in ways that, for example, more women would be like instead of most men. God doesn't make mistakes is a lie. Mistake or not, birth defects of all kinds factually exist. Things like intersex exist, which is an entirely different life-altering, non-optional condition that many face, and it is not in any way to be compared or confused with transgender. It is an entirely different thing, and in fact, intersex is scientifically heavily documented, studied, and confirmed, unlike transgenderism, which needs a lot more tests, studying, and exams. Dems only make suffering worse and harm the community. What Trump's done is right and only fights extremism. Only truly bad thing I can think of that, knowing him, he will hopefully eventually fix is the transgender troops being rescinded of their pay/benefits. That's not great, but I hope he will fix that. Check out my entire LGBTQ plus article/video/piece covering a wider span of topics in this section, especially involving President Trump. I truly believe that President Trump's helped the LGBTQ plus community more than any president in our history. Tons of data and examples of extreme help and uplift do not lie. Watching movies like Alita Battle Angel or TV shows like The Orville, they also may open your perspectives on these topics or other topics. They are important shows that can easily open minds very quickly. I suggest you go check those out. Effeminate gay men are not the same as transgender women. Trannies, as well as transvestite, are outdated and offensive terms. I mean, they need stipulations like their own sports/bathrooms. Post-mortem brain dissections historically show trans individuals' neurological features align with their gender, not their birth sex. Consistent pre- and post-HRT, unlike cisgender people uncross gender HRT for medical reasons. Despite this, brain dissection requires death, so it's not practical proof of neurological femininity. Many in the community spread deception of extremism, but most authentic trans people I've met are grounded and approachable. 10 recent studies indicate that transgender individuals often possess unique brain phenotypes with structural and functional connectivity patterns that may not align strictly with either cisgender male or female benchmarks. While some research shows patterns intermediate between or more similar to their identified genders, others suggest a distinct neurobiological transgender-specific structure. Let's face it, they're not fully men nor women in terms of mentality. Biological in majority of ways, sure. However, trans women can confidently call themselves more femme than men, at least if they are a trans woman, but still it's wrong to say woman, a real woman. Stop being unfair to women. Men are not women. Trans women will factually never be women no matter what. They are an entirely different biological life form. No matter how gentle and femme-leaning on the other side is, no matter what your brain feels feminine, no matter how effeminate you are, that you are not a woman. I'm Christian through and through. I have faith God wouldn't judge harshly nor punish one for how God made them. Being gay is the same way. Please start having some compassion for these people. They already live a life of struggle. Even effeminate gay men are not the same as being transgender. They are an entirely different thing. They think differently. I mean, they are just entirely different things. When human existence is denied, often violence and snaps occur. I think that's what we've been seeing. Stop the extremism, but help the people in need. They are suffering, and they are many.